Record.
Hi everyone, welcome to week 3, program development. I've just gone through a bit of a run around the program space. Sorry about that, I forgot to press record. We're live now. At the moment, what we're trying to do is we're about to start going through the class, but just as a quick whip around, what I did show everyone was what the activities are for this week. I'm trying to keep activities down to 2. This week's activities, there is a blog down the bottom. Please add to that blog. The other activity is add a word to the glossary, point word that pertains to program development. But as far as this week goes, I'm just going to shoot into the actual class space. Now, has anyone had a chance to look over the PowerPoint presentation?
Not for this week.
Okay, we'll go through a little bit of that, but I'll go through a couple of main points at the moment. So let me grab the PowerPoint. So this week, some of the main things hopefully we'll get out of this week is really to embed in some of your learning what are aims. So program planning aims, what's an objective of a program plan, and what are KPIs. Has anyone dealt with, let's start off with KPIs. Has anyone dealt with KPIs before and know what that acronym means?
Not really.
So key performance indicators. You'll come across it in a lot of workplaces, and it's also, they're pretty much standard measures. They use that acronym of key performance indicators, but it's the measures that you set up, and it could be for a workplace, it could be for many things. But in this case, we're really, it's pertaining to what are the measures for your particular program that you might be developing. And so you can at least know that when the intent, you've started that, you can actually measure its performance and how it's tracking. Also, aims, what we're going to do with aims, and I'll actually share this with you, and that way we can view it. I don't want to get slideshows. I did a really long one last week with this class, and I want to try and keep them kind of lightish if I can, so you can go through them at your own time, but I want to get some main points out of them. Now, can you see that yet?
No.
All right. I'm just going to do one more little thing here. It's always these little tricks. Share screen. Bingo. How's that?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So with that, so aims, as it states there, the aim is about what you hope to do, your overall intention in a project. It signals what and where you aspire to be by the end. It's what you want to know. It is the point of doing the research, and the aim is therefore generally broad. It's ambitious, but it's not beyond possibility. And so a little bit more about aims. And so now this particular PowerPoint, they're talking about the convention that an aim is usually written using infinitive verb, that is to plus action. All right, great, we're getting very technical there. So aims often start like my aim of the project is to map out, to design, to create, to do, to achieve. That's what aims are normally written like. Sometimes in social sciences, we have aims which attempt to acknowledge the inevitability or partially of what we do. So we aim to investigate, to understand, and to explore, because there's no kind of, in community services, it's not like mathematics. So it's really hard to measure something. So some of it's about how we go about doing it and to uncover things. Lots of the projects and reviews and supervisors prefer to see something less tentative than this. They want to see something more concrete, something more like to synthesize, to catalog, to challenge, to critically interrogate. So it's a bit like an essay, if you like. We're gonna have a look at this point and see what we can find out. And that might be in research, projects, etc. And so these examples to attempt or intend to reach a certain goal. This is talking more about goals, specific goals or purposes. Define program goals and objectives. And so what I'll do there is I'll just go in. I've pulled up a couple of things, about goals and objectives, and I've also got characteristics of KPIs. So we're going to be talking about some of those as we go along as well.
So, Mark, could I just ask, is a goal, the aim is much broader than objectives? So do you have an overall aim and then several objectives maybe under it?
Yeah, that's right. So, the goals are broad statements. It's the aim is the motherhood statement, if you like. The goals are some of those broader things that sit underneath. So broad statements of desired changes or outcomes and the direction. The objectives, they're starting to drill down. They're specific, measurable actions. And so that's where it starts to dovetail into KPIs. Because if your objectives, that what you want to create, are measurable, then you can create a KPI, a key performance indicator. That key performance indicator is what you'll be constantly looking at to know that your program's on track or whatever you're creating. And also, then this goes into stuff talking about, has anyone heard of SMART goals?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this feeds into SMART goals. So it's specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's tangible, and it's time sensitive. And we go through to a couple of those. So develop well-defined goals and objectives. So within that, goals provide a roadmap for a plan or where a group wants to go. Goals can be long-term, over several years, or short-term. They can be based on needs of the community and evidence-based data. Goals should be believable situations or conditions that a group believes can be achieved. Attainable, possible within a designated time. Tangible, capable of being understood or realised. On a timetable. So that's where I was saying time sensitive. It's not like it goes on forever. You define the start and the end. And win-win, beneficial to the individuals and to who is taking part of it. So this is where I just want to start on SMART goals. And so SMART goals are when you're setting up, whatever you're doing, if you think about program development, if you think in workplace, if you think you're giving yourself a goal, any goals are you going to set? You really want to run to a timeline that's similar to this. So you want to be looking at, is the goal specific? So define the goal as much as possible with no ambiguous language, so no confusing language or language that makes it a little bit wishy-washy. Make sure the language you use is spot on. Who is involved? What do I want to accomplish? Where will it be done? Why am I doing this? Reasons, purpose. Which constraints or requirements do I have? So, it's absolute in how we explain what that goal is. It's quite specific. Measurable. We need to make sure that we can measure its success. It can't be that, I was kind of right. It can't be like a Jackson Pollock painting where we just put a lot of lines on paper and then we go, it's kind of all right, isn't it? It has to be a little bit more, specific. We want it to be a landscape with some defined hills and things like that in there that we can recognise. So it's measurable. Can you track the progress and measure the outcomes? How much, how many, how will I know when my goal is accomplished? Attainable. Is the goal reasonable enough to be accomplished? How so? Make sure the goal is not out of reach or below standard performance. So, I think sometimes we set goals that are just too hard. You've heard of the explanation, you're setting yourself up to fail or setting others up to fail. And so
Yep.
if you're doing that, I think you need to, really, if you're specific about what you want to achieve, then you need to make that attainable for the average person or whoever your target group is or yourself. And so it might be that even though the goal is quite aspirational, you've got to hit some key milestones along the way. You've got to break it down so things are attainable along the way. Otherwise, it's a waste of time and everyone will lose interest in where they go. Much like some classes at ACAP, we just lose interest and we go, bugger it, I'm not doing this anymore. But we try and make it so it's quite obtainable and understandable. Is it relevant? Is it worthwhile? Is your goal worthwhile? Will it meet your needs? So if it's not relevant, throw it out. So it's a good test. And timely. When is it going to be completed by? So these are takeaways that you can use in many facets of what you're doing in life and business, but also program development. I use these quite a lot of work with my staff. So making sure whenever we're doing projects, we're looking at, can we put the SMART test to things? Will it pass that? If it does, then we're on track. So this is talking about how can I create useful SMART learning objectives. And so it's just taking the statement to the practice. And so I'll let you go through most of this yourselves. I don't want to drill down exactly into each word verbatim, but, it's all about, it's helpful to start with a phrase. By the end of this session, a participant will be able to and finish the sentence, much like I started this particular night with. Add an observable action verb that describes what the participant should be able to do. Use instead terms that describe directly observable behaviours. By the end of this class, we should know a lot more about aims, objectives, and so setting it up in that type of way. And this is about to create obtainable learning objectives. Consider the lowest skill set, so common denominators. So if you think whatever your aims and objectives are, you've got the top and the bottom, start to think what's going to happen. But this is really talking about a class. So remember, so it goes into learning objectives, two types of objectives, outcome objectives, process objectives, measure of what of a program, measure of how of a program. And this is getting really deep. There are 3 levels of objectives. Measure the planned community change. So a really good thing, and what I'll just touch on that point, when they're talking about community objectives, measure the planned community change. The real statement I want to do here, when we talk about community development work or when you're developing a program, I always talk about a good thing to remember in community development. Have you all completed community development by now, that particular subject? Have you heard? So I always look at a business. So if I'm creating a business, what do I want to create? Why do I run my business? What is the outcome normally? Alicia?
Profit.
Yes, that's exactly right. When I'm running community development programs, what is my outcome normally?
Well-being.
Yeah, that could be an outcome. But really, it is really this bit right here. This says it in a way, plan community change, but I call it social change. So when we run a program, if you think about running your program, and it's good to pause on this, because if you think about what your program wants to achieve, it's a level of change somewhere, some level of something. So that wasn't, whatever it is your program does, it wasn't there. You implement your program, and then that change occurs. And that comes on for a lot of things that are community development type programs. You're not getting any money like you would in a business as your outcome, your profit. What you're getting, your profit is measured in social change or community change. In this case, planned community change. Some of the tools that I'll share with you. Sorry, I just have to escape this for a sec. What slide for it? So some of the things I really like, and I think I might have shown some people last week, but always remember this one. Whoop. So it's a really good tool that while developing a program, or this should be popping up. This, can everyone see that star okay? Or is it a bit too small?
I can't read the writing, but
The writing is too small?
yeah.
I'll see if I can enlarge that.
Having lived a certain kind of life for a period of about 19 to 20 years, I was more into drug and substance dependency, mental health.
Someone's watching a video somewhere along the line.
Imagine that kind of setting where I was stuck. I didn't trust nobody, I didn't believe in anyone. Because no matter what help that was offered to me, I always thought there was a hidden agenda to it.
I'm not getting it to come up as bigger at the moment.
Saying,
Look, I'll just talk to it. And before I do that,
getting depressed, getting imprisoned, coming out and doing the same thing. After this 19 years, there was nothing that worked for me. Each time I tried to do something, I just knocked back. So when I was in prison,
so that was someone talking about the outcome star. Geez, I thought it was one of you guys, but it was actually me. Sorry about that. I didn't realise I was playing a little video there. I was going, who's playing a video there? All right. Look, I'm trying to get that bigger, but why am I having a little problem here? I want to go to images. All right. I'll just talk to him. So basically, it's a really good measuring tool to measure social change. So when an outcome star, you can imagine in this, you don't have to know what the headings are at the end of them, because you can interchange those for whatever you like. But basically, it's got from 1 to 10 sitting in this star. And at the end, just say your program, I don't know, might be, what were some of the ones we were talking about last week? We're talking about nutritious food, yeah? And if you're running a program and trying to increase people's knowledge of nutrition and their food, you might have on here current eating habits, you might have current shopping habits, you might have, family or home life, you might have, physical health, well-being, but education standard, you might want to measure that too. And then you'll be going along and asking your clients to, before you implement a program or implement that social change, they can rate where they think they sit on that from 1 to 10 and their self-rating. Then you implement your program, then afterwards you'll do this again, and then you can get them to do that outcome star, how they feel again after the program. And you should be able to see a shift in some of these areas that you've picked as your change, how you've measured that change. It's one way that you can measure change. I just want to pause on that. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you get time, have a look at it. Outcome star as a tool, something that's quite good. So we're just going to talk about objectives. And so I'll go through here a little bit more. Okay. So within here, his objectives really, it's really helpful to think about what can go wrong with aims and objectives. There are some predictable problems that you want to avoid when writing them. These are some of the common objectives and issues. So there's too many aims, or the aims and objectives waffle around, they don't get to the point. So aims and objectives don't connect properly, and so everyone goes, what's going on? The aims and objectives are differentiated. They're basically the same things, but said in different words. The objectives are a detailed laundry list rather than a set of stages in research, and they don't stack up with the research method. So that's getting quite technical towards the end. When you're considering your program that you're going to develop, try and keep it quite simple. Don't make it too detailed. Make it a really light, easy type of program. And this is referring to the assignment, and I will talk through that in a second, but the more detailed you make it, it'll be great as far as a program might be, but there's a lot of work involved in trying to explain a lot of things. So just try and really keep it simple with a couple of, with one main aim, your objectives, how you're going to get there. Use that SMART goal setting, and then it will be a lot easier to set up. It doesn't have to be bigger than Ben-Hur, okay? Final thing to say is that aims and objectives can't be rushed because they generate the research and questions, underpin the research design. Sorting the aims and objectives out are crucial at the early stage in planning of any research project. And again, you won't be developing a research project. It's just a simple program that I'd expect you to develop. Aims and objectives are a foundation on which the entire project is constructed, so they need to be sturdy and durable. So this is really talking about some bigger projects. You really need to think out the process, or else we'll fall over very quickly. Outcomes, I'll leave you guys to look at the outcomes clip, and we'll look at this. So I just wanted to go through, while defining project results in a proposal, what is the difference between outputs and outcomes? So these are things, and there's a lot of words, and hopefully some of you will put them up in the glossary with some of their meanings, yeah? But all project proposals should explain all the expected results that will be achieved by the project, and so many formats seek extensive information on results just to ensure that the set of objectives are successfully achieved. However, some proposal formats request both outputs and outcomes separately. So basically, putting them into three groups really quickly with a quick definition of what outcomes. I had a look around. I think this is a really quick way of just locking it in. I've also put this up in the discussion forum so you can have a look at it just for your reference, just so you can remember these things, which always helps. And so outputs are those which are achieved immediately after implementing an activity. So these are the outputs. So you do something and then you should get some immediate outputs, right? For example, you're organising a workshop on human rights. Now, anyone who attended that's got a really clear understanding on what those issues are. So this is the output the project has achieved right after the conclusion of the workshop. And you could reflect. If ever you've been into a class, a workshop, something for work or somewhere else, and you've just gone through the mill and all that learning, you've got it all sitting there. 4 days later, you're probably struggling. What was that again? Some of those connections start to be lost. So those outputs are the fresh things straight away. The outcomes are considered as the midterm results. So they're not seen immediately after the end of the project, but after some time we see change at ground level. So that's what, when we were talking about, or I was talking about, that social change that starts to occur. It can be turned as an outcome. Taking the above example of Human Rights Workshop, if the participants have started to mobilise their community members to seek out their human rights, or they've gone to, a permaculture class, and, all of a sudden you've got people saying, there's this paddock sitting over there, this empty bit of nature strip. Let's turn it into a community garden. So that's where that outcome comes from. But the impact is usually, and so the impact is the end result. It's usually the long-term result. It may not be achievable during the life cycle of the project, but normally that's where you want to get it. We hope that within your project you have that output or your goal. What your aim is the impact, yeah? How that's achieved. If the community has achieved its goal of getting their human rights recognised in this case, or this example, by the government, then an impact created by the project through this is seen for several years. So how does that sound?
Mm.
Am I putting you to sleep?
No.
I should be giving you all talking about things now. The other thing we're going to go on is KPIs. And so within KPIs, I've got another little ditty. Instead of going through, you can go through the PowerPoint again at your leisure, and it'll talk about, you know, KPIs differ per organisation, business KPIs. You know, might be the one thing. You might talk about what makes a KPI effective. And I've got this, which I found, which I really like. Key performance indicators is a measurement of performance related to a specific objective or goal. Yeah, and I've also put this up in the discussion forum for you all, so you can grab that and just to lock it in a little bit more. But it's both. So typically KPIs can be thought of in two categories: drivers, which measure current and future activity, and outcomes. Yeah. So we've got things that, you know, you might be measuring things to know that things are moving along in your project, but then you've got your outcome KPIs. So, and that's what that's talking about. So it's really important if you think about, if you're running and I'm going to use a very loose and easy analogy. You're driving your car, right? You're looking at the dashboard on your car. You're looking at the speedo. You're looking at, I don't know, the temperature gauge. You're looking at things like that. So they're measuring things that are right now. But the trip meter, or in this day and age, the satellite navigation has the end destination. So that's the end bit. So you're not there yet. So you're measuring things along the way in your car, how it's all performing. But you might be waiting for the trip meter to get all those kilometres to wherever your destination is, or your satellite navigation. So that's those outputs at the end. And so remember, not all measurements are KPIs. It's important to determine which measurements in your business are indicators of true performance. Paying attention to those, your KPIs can help identify areas of success and areas for improvement. So what are effective KPIs? This, after rattling on there, this is the main bit. They should be simple, enough that employees, this is talking about, but others who are looking at these know what that KPI is measuring. So it should be a simple thing, and how it's being calculated. It shouldn't be a mystery. It should be quite transparent. They keep them small, manageable, at a manageable level, as not to overwhelm yourself with too much information. So what might be something that you're doing or you do every day, and you could cough up a KPI to it that's quite measurable and simple? What might an example be? I don't know if anyone's got anything off the top of their heads what they might do on a day-to-day activity.
I'm thinking of with my program with the little boy that I work with, because of his many and diverse and complex health needs, he's unable to be integrated into a program that he needs at school.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to put my own spin on it and bring the program to his little space. So something very specifically to measure for him is his the amount of words. Like, we're trying very hard to teach him to read at the moment, so he's got a very limited vocab and very limited knowledge of sight words.
Yeah.
So it's a sight word program, so it's very specifically measurable from beginning the program and then at the end.
And so you can effectively say per week how many sight words he might recognise straight up. So that's a really big thing. And then it becomes more complex as you move along, perhaps. You know, you might go from I don't know, words to 3-letter words to 4-letter words over a series of months. And then maybe
go into measuring that against his reading.
Yeah.
Sort of starting to put it into reading.
And I mean, you can do all sorts of spelling, comprehension. What does it mean? Can you put it into a sentence? I suppose now I'm getting down to primary school stuff, you know, that I do with my kids, but there'd probably be a lot of measures that you can put around that to measure his own performance. So that's a good one. Yeah. Has anyone else got something they could they do in a program or do in day-to-day they can attribute KPI to?
I'm helping with my workplace with a guy with his intellectually disabled and he's schizophrenic, and he's doing a paper routes a week. Trying to help him memorise his paper route.
Yeah.
And he's got a map and everything, but he doesn't like to read the map. So I've been doing it with him, but now we've got to the point where he's doing half and I'm doing the other half.
Yeah.
And some days he misses streets and other days he doesn't, and he's picking up more streets and sort of memorising more than he has been in the past. So maybe him sort of memorising more of his route is sort of an indicator of
how many streets can you remember?
Yeah.
As a very simple KPI measure, for him.
Yeah.
You know, and that might be a takeaway KPI that he always says. You know, when I'm going somewhere, how many streets are there? How do I? You know, it might help with his actual memory and how he structures direction in his brain, because I do say that there's plasticity in the brain, so it might be how he starts to comprehend. But yeah, that's an example. The other thing is make sure that so we're going through, you know, a word or an acronym that they're putting together on this, and as you can see, it's S, M, A, T, B, and V in this particular. T and V. So it's smart of. So it's not quite smart, but that's how they're setting up these KPIs. So measurable, they're saying even if a KPI can't be quantitative, it must still be measurable with clear, concise measurement attributes. Is it actionable? So KPIs are effective if people don't know what to do with the information. An effective KPI should answer a question and provide further discussion to be made based on that answer. So in this case, both examples you're talking about, you know, when you were trying to get a simple KPI going, John Morea, what you were talking about, does that create more conversation? Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've memorised so many streets. It does. If I've memorised or this, your child that you're case managing, memorise more words, it creates more conversation. That's really good. We can see how far you've moved. Now you understand all these words. So that's hitting those categories or those measures at the moment. Timely, the frequency of which a KPI is reported on. So in this case, we've got probably Maria's has a time limit on it because we're moving forward, and in a space of time, how many words have you learned? Can, John, you attribute a time to your KPI with learning streets? And maybe it has to have a little bit more than how many streets that maybe needs a little bit more tweaking in that KPI to get that in there to be timely. Or can you say over a period of 3 weeks, I was able, or your client might be able to remember more than 3 streets, and over 3 weeks they built from knowing 3 streets and their routes and their route initially, they only could remember 3 streets ahead to by the end of that they could remember 6 streets ahead in 3 weeks, and that might be that time frame. Yeah. Visible, make the KPIs visible across the organisation. This one's saying incentivize employees to be more productive and pay attention to their problem. So really it's about, and that's just talking about, make sure the KPIs are known by everyone, are achievable and celebrated. We've hit the mark, great. When the business is more aware of that day-to-day dashboard effect, the speedos and how the car's performing, they'll probably understand it, and there'll be better decisions and etc. So that's the last one. So I'll put that up there as well. The other, when you go through the PowerPoint, and I'll just fire that up again from current slide. So when you go through this, these are some other things on the PowerPoint that talk about KPIs again. They talk, so you've got that example. So you've probably got a few different sources of information. So you should have a really good idea about KPIs, how to make them effective, the types of KPIs. So you've got process KPIs that we're talking about, you've got input KPIs, you've got output KPIs, and you've got leading KPIs. There's a lot of KPI action going on there. So read through that at your leisure to understand some of that, but some of it won't be needed. It's just extra, if you like. Gives you some examples of KPIs. And so then we're going into development. In order to develop performance indicators, it's essential to clearly identify what the organisation's values and philosophy is, clearly identify the clients and their needs, have aims and objectives. We specifically state what is to be achieved in relation to these needs, and identify each step in the service delivery. So this is just extra information for you that I'll just go through. Performance indicators, they're talking a little bit more about those. A performance indicator for each of these steps could be the proportion of total clients where both the worker and the client agree that the outcome has been successfully achieved. Strategies could be used to achieve these outcomes and could include providing information to clients, interviews, group work, training, or so on. So this is talking more about service delivery processes and examples of, which I'll let you read through. So knowing what's going on. So organisations need information. This is, what should bed this down. They need information, whether their aims and objectives are being achieved, what their strategies are being effectively implemented. Are we achieving these? So this is all about knowing this. So with your program that you're going to develop, it's really about at a grassroots level that you're developing, but this is also all these functions go on in every business. So it's important that businesses have these to move forward and to grow, and even just to achieve their own goals on a daily basis. There's some YouTube clips that I'll let you go through in your own time, but they're probably good because these two talking, especially the top one, it's about planning activities for the elderly or senior people. So it gives a good idea, just at grassroots level, just doing a simple thing, what it's like, how they've gone about planning it. So you might get a lot out of it before you go into developing your own programs for this assessment. This is journal time, 5 minutes. Some information, some thoughts. I'll let you have a read of that. But I've got that reflective journal sitting up in the class space, and so it's for you to put any learning in. That's the picture of this head. When you hit that, that's when you can put in some thoughts, some things that you might have learned that you didn't know. Just share with everyone. Oh, I didn't know this. That was quite interesting. Don't need really you to put in a life story, but points of interest, just little ditties. These are newer tools that we're probably introducing. You probably haven't had. Have you had reflective journals in other subjects?
No.
So as that, you probably go, I don't want it to be more arduous. It's just it's one of those things where if you throw something quick, I didn't know this. That was a great learning. Bang, that was interesting. Or that's enlightened me on something. I don't know. You might have a really an epiphany. At that point. Just throwing in those thoughts in there. The other thing you really want to concentrate on is the other things you really want to concentrate on is the activities in the week. So you won't need to really have a look at my intro for the week. I'll try and put those up every week just to tell you what the subject is. But you will need to go through, have a look at any of the videos, etc., that are up there, and then complete the glossary and complete the blog if you've got time to do that. They're the key things. Look at the videos, do the glossary activity, complete the planning, the blog for program planning ideas on what you're about to do, and just throw it up there. It will help everyone. If everyone has a look at that blog, when you press on this link, really probably give you an idea of where everyone's at. So as a group, we're all kind of going on the journey together. And I say that because, it can get when you're kind of doing assessments by yourself, you start to wonder, am I on track or etc. So the more I try and get everyone together talking about what they're up to and what they're doing, it really helps with that learning as well. You don't feel as though you're going through it by yourself. And of course, I'll always say, talk to each other on the discussion forum. There's not much on there. It's pretty lonely on that discussion forum. It's pretty empty. Any questions that you might have, throw up there, and any thoughts or what you might have on the assignment, don't just ask me. You know that you've also got Simon. So Simon Daly, he'll be marking the assessments. And so he's there for questions. So he's looking at this as well. And if anyone saw the welcome video that I did, I've introduced Simon in that space. And so his email's there as well. But either one of us, if you have a question about assignments or things like that, we'll answer you, hopefully within 24 hours really quickly. The last bit, does anyone have any questions about the assignment that's due? And would you like me, I went through it last week. Would anyone like me to go through what you need to do to achieve this assignment and a successful pass this week, just to get you up to scratch?
Yes, please.
So within this, you're going to be writing a short report to the needs of a group of clients you work within your work placement. The consultation may be based in part upon previous consultation. Write a short report that outlines the work placement you're undertaking. Undertaking assessment tasking, including where it's located, the key client groups, the number of workers in the service, the positions of the key workers, and include yourself. So is everyone currently doing a placement or has done a placement in the past?
Yeah, I'm doing placement at the moment.
All right. So all right, the question I should ask, has anyone not done a placement now or in the past? No. No answer? No? That's good. So therefore, we've all got something to base this on. Yeah? That would. And so within that, key needs of clients in this welfare work environment, what evidence you have used to determine their needs, how you got this evidence, and how your consultation. So I'm just going to move this to the side for a bit. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to pull up assessment 1. So this is a template. Has everyone had a look at the template for assessment 1? All right, great. So within that is a basic outline.
Mark, could I ask you, the template you showed us last week, the columns of things, including collection of data. Mm-hmm. With this report, is it a written report, or do we have to include a filled in template at the end of that assignment, or at the beginning of the assignment, or is it just a guide for us?
It is a guide. The actual assessment itself says use the planning wizard below to help you identify and develop key goal and specific objective in relation to addressing the needs you have identified. So if you use that, you can put it at the top and then write a written report underneath. That's how I would expect it. But you'd identify within that what you're using. You'd throw in what you're doing very quickly in dot point, then write your report, and then I'll go through it. And
so that wouldn't be part of the word count, Mark?
No, there wouldn't be huge amounts of words in there. It's just dot point identifying what you would be doing, very quickly. But look, if you're struggling to get to 400 words, I'm not going to be precious. It will become part of your word count every day. But I suppose within this, I think someone asked me, and I replied to them before. They were talking about, I've done an assignment. I punched together 800 words and I can't take it out. And I said, look, don't stress about it. If you're doing a bachelor course, they would be quite strict to adhering to that word count. In doing a diploma, we're not as strict. it's a guide more so. But I will say that in writing assignments, when you get a word count, it's really good practice, and it helps you sharpen up some of your language to try and adhere to those word counts. But you won't be marked poorly because you do not, unless I'm getting submission of a paragraph of 100 words, which I'm sure I won't. But, if you're around 350 to, 320 to 800, I'm going to be quite all right. As long as you hit the main points, the selection criteria. The 400 words, normally you get 400 words on, an A4? That's about one A4, or one Word doc to me. They normally sit around 400 words. And so that's about the measure of what I'm after in how you go about doing this. And so the assignment in itself, and I'll just put that in your field of view again. So that's saying, where are we again? So consultation of the clients. Wait, I'll start that sentence again. The key needs of clients in the welfare work environment. What evidence you've used to determine their needs, how you got this evidence, how your consultation was inclusive of the needs of all clients in this environment, and how you overcame any relevant barriers to communication. A plan to involve the clients in the ongoing development of any responses to their need, including how clients' input will be recognised within the organisation, how you will consult and network with other workers in the organisation, and maybe workers from other relevant agencies. Use the planning wizard. And so that planning wizard, my goodness, as I said last week, it's not really a wizard, it's a table, but we'll call it a wizard. Or someone who put it together went, wow, this is amazing. And they thought it was wizardry, but I just think it's a table. So use the table, in this case, to identify how you develop a key goal, specific objective in relation to addressing the needs. But really, so the key things I've highlighted. Let's just break it down. So all the guff I gave you, I'll break it down into what is highlighted. You are to write a short report of the needs of a group of clients you work with in your work placement. This consultation may be based in part upon previous consultation you've undertaken with your group of clients. And then the key points, it's in your work placement. That's where it's located. You're looking at the client groups. You're looking at the number of workers in the service and the positions of key workers. What you need to do, the key needs of clients, what evidence you have used, inclusive of the needs of this environment, how you overcame any barriers. And you need to plan to involve the clients for any ongoing development of responses to their need, including how clients' input will be recognised within the organisation, how you will consult and network with other workers in the organisation and workers from other organisations. So are we kind of clear on what we need to do here?
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question, Mark?
Is that Naomi?
Yeah. With the program that I'm doing at Work Placement, I've basically, they're supposed to run programs throughout the year, but the case managers have gotten too busy. So now they've got a lot of budget left, and they've asked me to organise fortnightly events, to take the youth out and do things. So I'm taking them horse riding, to the beach, to the zoo, all sorts of different sorts of adventures.
That's great.
And yeah, so, but I guess I was just a little bit stuck on, I wanted to make sure, like, obviously there's other needs that this cohort have, which are being met through the service. So this is more meeting a need of building confidence, developing social, peer connections, deepening rapport with case managers. Is that okay?
That's great. Yeah.
The evidence that I've got for that is really based on feedback, obviously, from the service that they've got funding for it, but also we took them to laser tag at Christmas, and the feedback from the youth from that was really positive, that they felt like they were developing friendships, they were felt more confident, things like that. So can it be based on
connectiveness? So there's social inclusion, so a reduction of social isolation, all these key points. How did you measure that? So you knew that that's what you were kind of going to do. So they were the process indicators, if you like. So
the way?
sorry.
So no, I was going to say the way I come up with these ideas was reflecting on that communication that I had with clients afterwards.
Yeah.
But at the time, I wasn't assessing it in that way, obviously. But it was more through verbal feedback.
Yeah.
So is that the level of evidence? Because I mean, if I was to look back, I'm not going to have time, obviously, now to go and speak to all the clients this week about it.
But yeah, it's more like reflection. So you're putting it together to the best of your ability at the moment. So it'd be great if you could speak to clients, but I'm not expecting you to. I'm expecting you to kind of put those blocks together yourself, if you like. And you're starting to do that now, Naomi. So if you're on track with doing that, then that's fine. I think the main things I want you to, and you started to talk to them really well, the objectives, the strategies, what are your KPIs, your process indicators? So how do you know, so how are you going to collect that data, right? And then you're thinking the other end of what are going to be some of the main outcomes and how you know that's occurred. Yeah?
Well, I was going to use that star because that was a good way for them to get, there was more a measure of their level of feeling of connectedness and rapport and
You've probably used the star before, is that right, Naomi?
No, they actually do have it at work, but they've stopped using it for some reason. So I actually had a lemonade.
Has to be driven by management at work. Some places become, I suppose, things change and information goes with people who leave and but I just think that is the simplest tool. I always bang on about it when I'm talking to people because it's the simplest and most accurate way of finding out how clients feel and there's two things. It's how clients feel, things have changed for them, but it's also an indicator to a service and or individual workers. How good are they at helping clients move or create change in their lives? So it's an indicator of both. And it's a simple tool. It takes 5 minutes. And you can get it as an app. Jeez.
That's considered an outcome KPI and like an evaluative.
Yeah. Well, it can be also at the start as well. It is an input KPI as well. It depends how you use it. You might say, what programs would you like to see? What do you think? It depends how you use that tool. You can use it to your advantage, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think I'm on track then.
Are you in Victoria, Naomi?
I'm in Queensland, in Toowoomba.
I just knew a worker with your name who works for an organisation called Mary Outreach Support Service. I'm speaking to the same person. No, maybe not.
I'm from Toowoomba, Naomi.
Oh, there you go.
Hello. Nice to meet another Toowoomba person.
Study buddies. Is that the go?
Yeah. Catch up for coffee and discuss what we're learning one day.
Absolutely.
And that's how it happens. People meet up and they start talking about what's going on. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. Just that connection alone. If you're both talking about what's going on with your assignments, you go, the anxiety drops. That's why that discussion forum, all those things, when you're talking to you don't feel as isolated, socially isolated. You feel connected as a group, even though there's quite a distance. But, look, any questions, on that assignment, just shoot through and, have a look though, have a look back at the assessment. We'll just go down a bit. Have a look at this. And that will tell you in your 400 words, give or take, if you'll hit it. So we've talked about what you need to do. Now, when you're writing it and you're refining it, or what I'd like to say, wordsmithing, because I like to dump things. I don't know how you all individually write your story. I dump a lot of stuff and I'll just bang stuff out, and then I'll start to structure it. And if you, I suppose metaphorically, to me, in my head, it's just like a sculptor. I've dumped a lump of clay, so a lot of things are disjointed, and then I'll start to smooth that out. So I'll start to wordsmith it until it resembles an assignment that I have to hand in. That's how I operate, right? And so I've got all these, and other people aren't like that. That's just how I like to operate. And then I'll refine a little bit more, and then I'll go, beautiful thing, hand it in. So, but normally I'm a really bad starter, and I don't know who else is a bad starter. Like I'll look at something and I'll go, right.
That's me.
Yeah. And so how I get over that is dumping a whole heap of stuff, because once things are in front of me, they go, hang on, that's not right. And then it's virtually like having a split personality. It forces me to go in and say, well, that's not right. I'm self-correcting it. That clearly is not right. And I'll start shaping things up. And it gets me started. It's a nice trick I use to fire myself up to get me over that first hurdle, which is starting. It won't work for everyone. Give it a try, though, and see if it's a great tool. Just dump information out there and start writing about it, and then shape it up. Then check. If you're still going, I don't know if I'm on the right track, do a double check. Look at the key selection criteria. You go, oh, yeah, I don't think I've done that. And if you're still a little bit confused, try the group learning in the forum. What does anyone think of this or know about this? And shoot me and Simon an email, and we're all there to give you a hand. My mission is to get every single student over the line, passing, reducing anxiety, and learning. Yes?
Yes.
Good luck to you, my friends. This was a long-winded session. Sorry for keeping you up so late. That's it for this week. Please try and attempt the activities. It shows that you've given a red hot. It will help with that learning. But I'll be talking to you next week. I'll be doing an intro. The PowerPoint's there. Throw some things in the glossary. A couple of keywords. It'd be great if you could throw keywords in the glossary. The quicker you can get in, you'll find some point words. Others will use really quickly. Like they might go on with program objectives and smash that in now. And so you might be left with some obscure stuff. So get in there quick with the easiest stuff. More power to you, my friends. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks, Mark. See ya.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.